Hey everybody, my name is James White and I'm a visual artist and designer living in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada, over on the East Coast. And welcome to Ask Me Anything. I'm going to answer 10 questions on behalf of FITC Toronto 2012, who were the staff there were kind enough to ask me to throw myself on the coals of the internet and bare my soul to anybody that has any question about anything. So very comforting. Thank you, FITC, for that. And I suck at intros, man. Let's get right into this. Thank you very much to everybody who sent in questions that challenged things, that rocked my world down to the foundation. Whatever else. Let's just get right into it, man. We're heading into question one. Let's do this. Our first question comes from Orwell Knows You. When you created the Help Japan poster for the disaster relief, why not take your logo off of it? Why did you put it on it and sell posters with the logo on it from your store when people obviously knew it was by you? Do you think a lot of your rising popularity was directly from the discussion that formulated about you trying to make a name for yourself off that poster? Thank you very much for the question. I'm going to answer that in just a couple of parts, just because you threw a lot of content in there. First and foremost, the signature on the poster. By bringing that up, now this isn't the first time that I've heard this, and this isn't the first time I've seen other artists get heat for signing their work. And that question raises a much bigger issue. And I want you to keep this in mind. And anybody else that questions this out there, I want you to keep this in mind. At what point does the content of a piece of artwork dictate whether or not the artist who created it can sign their own work? Okay, now I'm not trying to dodge that topic. That's real to me. And when people question that, I wonder, where's the line? Like, the last thing that I want to see is people coming under fire more and more for signing their artwork that they created. If it's a personal piece of work, every artist out there has every right to sign their work in the same way that they sign all of their pieces of work. And I don't think that should be taken away from artists out there, no matter what the content of the piece is. This is over top. This is much larger than exposure and making a name for yourself and popularity and all that stuff. I believe that if an artist creates a personal piece of work, which the Help Japan poster was, that I should be able to sign my own work. Much in the same way, let's go right back, like Picasso. If Picasso was doing a painting that was going to be auctioned off for charity, is he allowed to sign it? Of course he is. So keep that in mind whenever that comes into question, because the content shouldn't dictate whether or not an artist can sign their own work. I believe that. And again, that is over top of making a name for oneself or any of those topics that are being thrown around these days. And number two, and this goes right back to the popularity thing. Do you think your rising popularity was directly from the discussion that formulated about me trying to make a name for yourself? That's pretty speculative, and I don't think anybody can look back at my portfolio over the past 4 years and say any one thing is a direct result of getting a larger readership. I'm in the exact same situation now that I was a year and 2 months ago, before the Help Japan poster. So no, I don't think anything can be associated with any one piece of work. I do so much work that I put out on the blog that you can't take any one thing and then single it out and say that's the reason, kind of thing. And that's just the way I see it, because I know my portfolio inside and out. I know my work habits. I know my frequency of releasing work. So I would I would say no. There's no way. There's no way. So thanks for the question, man. On to number two. This next one comes at us from Taz Roseman. I'd like to ask your advice on when a client insists you make a change to a piece of artwork you have created for them that you know will totally ruin it. I know, after all, you have to give the client what they want, but I thought you might know some good persuading technique to make them trust your design decision. In all honesty, Taz, when it comes down to client work, they pay the bills and you need to do what they want based on what they think their goal is and how to achieve that. Now, you're well within your right as a designer, because they're hiring you because you're the expert at what you do. So you're well within your right to educate them and tell them, well, that may not be the best way to go. I recommend this because of these 3 reasons or whatever. And don't come off as defensive or anything like that. Just stand up for your idea. Now, if they come back and say, I respect your information, thank you very much, but no, make it purple, then you got to make it purple. But the best thing you can do, like I don't know any persuading techniques. I never got into any of that. If a client wants it a certain way, I try to do it as best as I can. Try to reach that middle ground, because clients, for the most part, are reasonable people, I think. The ones that I've worked with anyway. Well, there's some exceptions, I suppose, but try to meet that middle ground. If they want it purple and you hate purple, try to make the purple maybe a little bit more blue or a little bit more red or whatever, and try to make it work as best as you can. I mean, as designers, we're problem solvers, right? So that's what it ultimately comes down to, is we need to try to take what the client gives us, take the content, take the direction, and then apply our expertise to make it look as good as we can. In the end, the client is going to get what they want. Whether it works or not is outside of our control. We just try to make it look as best as we can, and try to work with them, not against them. And never think of it as like they're working for you or you're working for them. Try to work with them. That's the key to a good client relationship, and that's the key to just doing better work, is working with them, listening to them, taking their goals and their ideas, and then throwing it into your process and making them something that's going to work, hopefully, on their end. So that may not be some persuading techniques, but that's just how I've been kind of dealing with it for the last 13 years, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a crapshoot. But yeah, just try to do your best, man. Try to do your best. Educate them when you can. And sometimes when it comes down to it, you just got to get it done. And if you don't like how it turns out, don't add to your portfolio. Everybody wins-ish. Thanks for the question, man. All right, this next one comes at us from Elephant Feather. That's a good name. I like that one. How did you start out? What made you realize that the design industry is your passion? Also, what are some of the things that you wish you would have known starting out? Great question, thanks. Okay, a couple of different points I'd like to bring up on that one. I've been drawing since I was 4 years old, so it was barely ever a question of me doing something creative with the rest of my life or doing it as a career. The only kind of speed bump that I hit is when I was 18. Up until that point, I'd been drawing just because I loved drawing, and I never stopped. I did it all the time. Like Friday nights when all my friends were goofing around and causing trouble, I'd be at home, drawing superheroes and whatever. So it was never a matter of discovering my passion, because I just did it for my entire life. I just never stopped. So there's that. I mean, that's how I kind of discovered it. But, right up until I was 18, I didn't really know that you could, and this is kind of like a cliche answer that a lot of artists and designers give, like how we didn't realize that we could do that for a living and, support ourselves doing something creative. I didn't know about it. I didn't know what graphic design really was until I got into it, or until I discovered it in grade 12. Guidance counselor gave me a brochure. Like, who knew? So I ended up enrolling at a graphic design course in my hometown. It was at a community college, 1-year thing, bare bones. And it worked out. I loved it, and it introduced me to the computer. And the computer was a new tool that I could use to take my drawings to the next level. I could scan them in and color them and add goofy lens flares and render clouds and all this crap by today's standards. But it worked. And I never really stopped doing it. I picked up the Macintosh and never stopped, man. So I got like notes here that I'm gonna go through. Okay, started at 4, right, connection, whatever. Okay, right. The last part of that question, this is why I have notes. I would have forgot about it. What are some of the things you wish you would have known starting out? Now, for anybody that knows my work and knows the blog and everything, knows that I never stopped creating stuff. Even though I had an agency job, I never stopped creating the things that I wanted to create on my own time. So I was doing animations, I was doing, illustrations, I was designing websites on my own time, fun stuff. I was drawing comic books. I was doing all kinds of stuff back in the day. But even back then, in my early career, in my 20s, it never deterred me. I kept going, even though I didn't have a clear vision or goal in my head. I just kept creating stuff. The more things that I created, the better my skills would get. I assumed back then. Obviously, I didn't have the track record that I do now. So I only wish that somebody would have taken me aside back then and said, the industry doesn't dictate what your future is going to be. You have to build your own future, and that's kind of the motto that I've been throwing back and forth online and with my own work, is that the industry is not going, like, client-based stuff isn't going to be the be-all and end-all of your career if you don't want it to be the be-all and the end-all. So just keep going with your personal stuff. Keep trying new things. Start a website. Get them on the internet. Start building your personal portfolio, not just your client-based portfolio, because that is not where the design industry ends. It's you can go anywhere you want to go if you want to do your personal work. So that's one thing I wish that somebody would have told me back then. Even though, like I said, it didn't deter me. I was still doing my personal stuff just because I was an art jackass and I just wanted to do a bunch of stuff all the time. So I did. But a lot of worry came with that, a lot of frustration. I was in the industry and I didn't really like the stuff I was doing by day, and I was loving the stuff I was doing at night, and I was wondering, why the hell can I do this for a living? This is bullcrap. I just wish somebody would have took me aside and said, listen, don't worry about that baloney. Just do your thing and have fun. Put it out on the internet, and you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen if you don't try, So I wish somebody would have told me that. It would have saved me a lot of gray hair. All right. Thanks a lot for the question. That was a good one. All right. Question number 4 from David334. Hey, James, I loved your Drive poster. Did you actually like the movie or just did the poster for fun? Thanks a lot for the question, David. Yeah, I love the movie. I never create. There's one thing about my portfolio is if you see any movie posters in there that I do on my own time, I did it because I love the movie. I'd never see a movie and go, that sucked, and then make a poster for it. Why the hell would I do that? I'm doing them on my own time, right? So, yeah, no, I really, really like the movie. But the thing is, okay, I'll tell you a story. How about this? It's story time, childrens. Gather around. Basically, what happened was I was hanging out with Jason Eisner at a bar one night. Jason Eisner is director of and writer of Hobo with a Shotgun. I was hanging out with him, and typically, like, if we meet, we talk about business. It's like business for 10 minutes, and then we spend like an hour and a half looking at cool stuff on our laptops. That's what we do. Cool artwork that we find, like cool video clips that he wants to show me for inspiration. And we started talking, and he said, like, oh, dude, did you see Drive yet? And I said, no, I heard plenty about it. But he said, man, you got to get it. You will love it, is what he said. Given my my kind of 80s obsession in my artwork and stuff. So I went home that night and I downloaded it. Had to. It was only playing in theaters here for like a week, and I missed it, and it was before the Blu-ray came out. No excuse though. But I downloaded it and watched it that night, and I loved it. Just over the top, man. Love the style, love the story. I love like kind of the subdued nature of the film, and knew right away, like halfway through it, I was like, man, I gotta do a poster for this. It's so stylized and so cool, and so like film noir-esque. So I started on the poster the next day, and 2 days later I had the poster complete. So that's what I did. So it was very much out of fun that I did the poster, and at the time had no idea where it would go. But I think that's going to be addressed in a couple of the next questions. But yeah, that's essentially what happened. That's how it came about, and did it for fun because I love the movie. And I can't think of a better way to do like a personal project. If it's something that you really appreciate, that you'd love to contribute a design to, yeah, I just did it. Really fun. Thanks for the question. All right, question number 5 comes at us from Mickey Ron. Was it difficult to get the Drive poster approved for you to resell it? I know it has been awesome for you in terms of promoting yourself and your work and getting exposure, but was it financially rewarding? Thanks for the question, Mickey. Okay, it was, I don't really know so much that it was difficult to get the license. That was handled by the agency that I'm with, Mystery Box over in London. And they were on it pretty early in the process. Like I designed it and then released it online, and then they worked on getting the license. And that kind of stuff I hear is quite difficult. And I know that Ollie, my agent, was on the phone for like 7 hours or 9 hours one day or something like that, working through a deal with the company, with the production company. But the deal was inked, everything was good, and after that we were ready to roll. And sure, like some of the things you mentioned, sure, it was beneficial in kind of promoting the Signalnoise brand and promoting Mystery Box as well, because this was our first sort of independent poster release that hinged on a franchise, and we're still like an independent company, both of us. So it was really cool in that way, because it showed people we were serious, I guess. Yeah, and in terms of financially rewarding, I don't know so much that it was any greater than a typical client job that I would bring in. But the good thing about it is that it was very unexpected. And what me and Mystery Box are doing is we're taking a lot of that money and we're just plugging it directly into more cool stuff that we want to do. That's the engine that I want to kind of keep going on. So yeah. That's I guess that's it. Did I answer your question? Hell, I don't know. Thanks a lot, Mickey. Right on. All right, this one comes at us from X Floormat X. Good name. Will you continue to get legal rights to make and sell posters for films? Was Drive perhaps easier to get than a tentpole big Hollywood film? And if you don't have the rights, would you make a thoroughly finished product on spec and never sell it? I think you asked that question, Matt, because you wanted me to say the word tentpole. All right, cool. I'm going to answer that in a couple of parts. Got some notes here. Cool. So, I mean, first and foremost, yeah, I definitely want to make more movie posters. That's become a kind of flip in my work over the past year, is that I'm really chasing kind of doing these posters that represent movies that I love. So, yeah, I definitely want to do more. That's definitely a given. Now, with regarding getting the license being easier than other big licenses, yes and no. In terms of, like, if we were going after the like a crazy license for Star Wars, that would be much more difficult than getting the movie the release for Drive. However, it's getting the license for Drive. It was a new release, therefore a lot of hype was around it, and there was a lot of advertising, and that's the overall push for a movie. Always comes when it's first coming out. So there's a lot of different hands and a lot of different buckets. So I wouldn't say so much that it was easy to get it, because there was a lot of buzz around it. And when you got buzz, it's more difficult to get licensing to do stuff because it's a lot more expensive and all this other stuff. But if it was a franchise that wasn't making money at the time, then that would be much more easy to acquire than something that just came out. So I'm still learning a lot of this stuff as I go as well. So that's just how I saw it as it kind of happened. So yeah, one more. Got notes here. Who always go by notes. What else? Oh yeah. The last part of that question. See, like all stupid here. The last part of that question. If I don't get the rights, right? If I don't have the rights, would I still make a thoroughly finished product on spec and never sell it? I've been doing that for years. I mean, you look at my Tron work, you look at 2001: A Space Odyssey, all kinds of stuff that I did basically for free because I wanted to do it. That's part of my personal portfolio. Just because something hinges on a franchise doesn't mean it can't be a personal piece of work that you just had fun creating. So if I happen upon a movie that I really want to create a poster for, then I'll just create it. And if I get the license for it, great. If I don't, well, that's cool too, because I can add it to my portfolio, and it just it expands on kind of the Signalnoise brand, for lack of a better word. God, I hate using the word brand when I talk about my stuff, but it's true. I hate using the word company too, and studio. It's just like I'm a guy in a room here. Why do I need all these rant time? Right on. Cool. Thanks a lot for the question, man. Hang on. I need your name. What's going on here? Floormat, thank you very much for the question, man. Right on. All right, this next one is coming from Poopin' the Turd. I love that name. Do you or have you ever felt like everything you've done isn't good enough? If so, how did you push past it? Yeah, sure. And I mean, I think that if you're an artist or a designer, like there's going to be times when you feel like your stuff just isn't up to snuff, and it's your own personal, like, every artist is their own worst critic and all that. So yeah, I think certainly, but it's only during the process. You know what I mean? If I'm working on something like, especially like a movie poster and the new kind of styles and techniques that I'm exploring, like 75% of the process, it looks like absolute crap. And it does, and I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed, but I know when I'm doing a personal piece, I know what the end goal is. So I'm going to keep chasing that, and I'm going to keep manipulating things in my file. I'm going to keep adding new elements and taking elements away and changing the type over and over and over again and changing shadows and highlights and textures and everything. Everything influences everything else when you're creating kind of a wall of color or whatever. So when it comes to that, yeah, it's in terms of pushing past it, it's perseverance, man. It's if you have a good idea and you know where you want it to go, just keep chasing it until you achieve it. And if you don't achieve it, then maybe the idea is not all that good, you know? So that's how I kind of look at it. And very simplistically, you know, if something isn't up to snuff, I don't release it. I don't show anybody. I'll either beat it into a pulp until it works, or I just move on to another idea. So yeah, that's generally how I go about it. Does that answer these questions? Even are these answers good? I have no idea. I'm just rattling on here. Whatever. Okay. All right. Moving on to number 8. Can't believe I just asked an empty room if my answers were any good. God, stupid. All right, this next one is coming from Andriy Danilov. I'm looking for internship opportunities, and I got a question. How do you think what is the best way to show your resume/portfolio to a potential company? Is it better to send all of the boring papers like letter of interest, CV, portfolio in a very formal Microsoft Word document, or just design a bright, eye-catching, cool, simple thing that says, "Hire me, I love design and I do awesome things." That's awesome. And a link to my website below. You know, this is something that it's a question that comes up a lot, and there's no really any one answer that can sum up everything, because people's skills and goals are different. People's education is different, and support system. And on the employer side, what they're looking for is different. How their company setup is different. What content and mediums they do is different. So, you know, there's no real one method of doing it. Now, so the only way I can really answer that is from my own point of view. Let's say like I was going to take on an intern, and I started looking through portfolios. Now, you know, in all honesty, the last thing I'm going to look at is a CV. You know, I'm probably going to look at where they went to school, and that's it. But I'm going to be looking at their work. And personally, and I've said this on a couple of my my Signalnoise broadcast episodes, personally, what I would look for is the personal projects that the applicant has done. Not just the stuff they did for school, not just the stuff they did for clients, but the stuff they did just because they love to design. And I think that's a really big thing. If you're going to hire a potential employee, you don't want them to just do enough to get the job done or do enough to finish the project. You want them to explore different things. You want them to overshoot that goal. And when you look at somebody's personal projects, the things that they do on their own time, not because they have to, but because they want to, that's the kind of employee that you want working for your company from a personal point of view. Now, in terms of how to represent yourself, like, hell, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I've seen good resumes. I've seen crappy ones. You know, my resume is dead. I don't know when the last time I used it, but it's like dead simple. It's just like text, and I have like maybe my name at the top in bigger text. I don't know. The worst thing you could do is to dress up your resume. That's because they never look good. It's just like keep it. A potential employer isn't going to look at your resume as a design piece in your portfolio. They're going to look at that for the content. So just make it content like nothing else. And then just try to present your portfolio in a nice manner. And try not to, like I always lived by this, try not to make your frame more interesting than the picture that you put in it. And what I mean by that is don't design your portfolio. Let the content of your portfolio do the speaking. Let your work do the speaking, not what's around it, not like cool quippy text and arrows and whatever else. Design it so it looks good, it's easy to read, and let your personal work do the talking. That's how I would go about it anyway. If I were looking for interns or looking for a potential employee, I want to go with the people that are smart about that stuff, about laying things out so it's easy to read, easy to navigate, and personal work, personal projects. Because if you're doing stuff on your own time, that means you love design. You're not doing it just because it's a job. So that's how I feel about it. Thanks for the question. Right on. Next one, heading into number 9. All right, number 9 is coming at us from Mirror World. Can you talk a little bit about how you set up your files for print? Do you always finish them in Photoshop? Thanks. No, not necessarily. I typically design my posters at 24 by 36. In Illustrator, typically, if I need to do it in Photoshop, I'll create it at the same size, but at 300 DPI. Typically, I design in RGB because the print company I use here in town can print RGB files digitally really nice. But if it's going to like an offset, I'll convert it to CMYK to make sure everything's good on that end. Work with the print company or whatever. Yeah, and that's just it. It's there shouldn't be a choice as to like only finishing in Photoshop or only finishing in Illustrator. It really does depend on the project at hand and whether that calls for like high vector graphics or if it calls for some raster effects and photography and all that stuff. So you really have to gauge which program you use based on the project at hand. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. That's all I got. Thanks for the question. All right, moving on to number 10. All right, and the final question comes at us from edu723. I'll jump right down to the questions. What advice can you give a designer trying to get more creative stuff through clients? What would you say is the best advice you can give a young designer in general? Okay, I kind of answered the first part of that earlier in the questions about making it purple or whatever. Inform your client that you may not agree with their course of action, but always suggest an alternative, something that you think is best or something that you think is better or something that would achieve their goal in a better way. If they disagree with you and they want you to make it purple, you make it purple. They're paying you to do the job, so you got to do the job. But do it to the best of your ability. Try to reach that middle ground with a client that's going to achieve both of your goals, you creatively and them with whatever the goal is, the end game of whatever you're designing for. So try to do that. I don't know so much. You can try to get more creative stuff out of clients, but if you can't, there's nothing stopping you from pursuing your personal goals on your own time. I mean, I pride myself on Signalnoise. That's the spinal cord of what I'm doing, is that my personal work has evolved into clients seeking me out to do that for them. So it's the much harder route. It takes a much longer time to do. I'm talking like took me, 12 years to reach that point, but always do stuff on your own time. I mean, I'm a big advocate of that, and I'm a firm believer that you can build your own reality based on doing stuff on your own time. The more stuff you do, the better you get, and the more creative you can get. If it's for yourself, nobody's going to be telling you what to do. You're your own creative director or whatever, art director or whatever they're called these days. So just do that. That's what I would say. If you can't get stuff out of the clients, just do the job for them, take their money, and then do cool stuff with it. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And the final part of that question is, what advice can you give to young designers in general? I always like ending on that note anyway, so it's great that this is the final question. And it's a theme that I've always said, and it's something I just went over. Never stop doing your own stuff. Now, typically what happens, or based on observation and based on experience of what I've seen, is we all get into graphic design because we're creative in some way. Whether that's we're painting, we're drawing in high school, we're whatever it is, sound recording, film, whatever it is that leads us to get into design. Typically when we're in school beats it into our heads that the only way we can be successful is to work with clients. So those goals, like the reasons that you got into graphic design, change during education. So when you're spit out the other end, as terrible as that sounds, you think that the only way to reach your goals is to work with clients. And that's it. So it's like, well, I got to work with the clients or agencies, or I got to go freelance working with clients, blah, blah, blah. And they forget those original goals, the fun, the creativity that we had when we were younger. A lot of people forget about that. They wanted to work with that rock band and do their CD cover. They wanted to do that poster for that cartoon or whatever it was. And I feel that the best advice that I could give is to tell people, never lose sight of that. That's the fun. That's the reason you got into it. And, it may be a transition. Maybe you have to work at an agency or you have to work freelance, but never stop doing your own stuff on your own time. The people that win, the people that get further in their careers, that reach more goals and more successes, are the people that never stop making stuff on their own time. It's 100% creativity, man. Nobody's going to be looking over your shoulder. Just do it because you love to do it. And that's the best advice I can give to young designers. Chase what you want to do, man. Chase what you want to do. We have the technology now. We have the exposure tools out there, given Twitter and Facebook and Dribbble and whatever the hell's popular now. So never stop doing that stuff, man. I'm a firm believer in that. If you chase it down as hard as you can, you'll reach those goals. So yeah. So that was number 10. So that's it. God, I hope that didn't suck for those who reached this point in the video. Yeah, whatever. Thank you very much to FITC for putting this on. And if you're going to be in Toronto for FITC in April, I'm going to be speaking. I think it's on April 23rd. I'll be on stage, 11:45 a.m., I believe. My talk is called Design Renegade. Come check it out. Hopefully it's going to be lots of fun, lots of colors and yelling and pointing and all the rest of it. And thank you very much for checking out this video. And a big thanks to everybody who sent in questions to this. This was a lot of fun to do, and I hope it was insightful? Question mark.